Hi, I'm Brenda. Welcome back to the channel where real stories find a voice. Today's letter comes from a woman who uncovered something truly disturbing. It's about trust, fear, and the terrifying moment you realize your home isn't safe. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. This letter hit me hard. It's not just about betrayal, it's about violation. The kind that creeps into your life without warning, in the most private places. And I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in her shoes? What kind of stories do you want to hear next? Revenge, forbidden love, family secrets? The woman who wrote to me, I'll call her Rachel, is 34 years old, a graphic designer. She's been married to Matt for 6 years. They live in a quiet suburb in Colorado. To everyone around them, they look like the perfect couple. But as Rachel says in her first line, something never felt quite right in our house. It started small. Rachel would walk into a room and feel like she was being watched. At first, she brushed it off. Maybe it was anxiety. Maybe it was nothing. But then she started noticing little things. Drawers slightly open, lights on that she turned off. Once, she found her closet door cracked open when she knew she'd shut it. Matt dismissed her concerns, saying she was stressed and imagining things. He worked long hours as an engineer, always exhausted, always distracted. She wanted to believe him, but the unease in her gut only grew stronger. And when her phone started acting strangely, she couldn't ignore it anymore. Apps would. Close on their own, the battery drained too quickly. She'd hear faint clicking sounds and calls, like someone was listening. One night, her laptop camera light flickered for half a second, then turned off. Rachel knew then she wasn't imagining anything. Someone was watching her. She decided to do a full sweep of the house just to ease her mind. She checked smoke detectors, picture frames, even light bulbs. And that's when she found it tucked behind a vent in her bedroom wall. A tiny black lens, a hidden camera staring directly at her bed. My hands were shaking as I stared at that lens. I didn't touch it. I didn't want to leave fingerprints. I backed out of the room slowly, heart pounding, and went straight to the kitchen. I sat at the table for nearly 20 minutes before. I called Matt Dot when he answered. I told him he needed to come home right away. No explanations, just urgency. He asked if the kids were okay. I told him yes, but I needed him here. He was annoyed but agreed to leave work early. I waited in silence. When he walked through the door, I didn't even say hello. I took him straight to the bedroom and pointed at the vent. He looked confused, then leaned closer. When he saw the lens, he stepped back and muttered, "What the hell is that?" I expected anger or denial. I expected him to shout or accuse me of planning it. But instead, he looked scared. Not guilty, but genuinely afraid. I asked him, "Did you put this here?" And he shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "I swear to God, Rachel, I didn't." His reaction threw me off. I wanted to believe him. But how could a camera get into our bedroom without either of us knowing? Matt took out the camera carefully and turned it over. There was no label, no wires, just a tiny device with a memory card inside. We plugged it into my laptop. It had only been recording for 3 days. I watched in horror as it showed me changing clothes, getting ready for bed, brushing my hair. Matt wasn't in any of the footage. The angle was focused only on me. I turned to him and asked again, "You really didn't do this?" He looked sick to his stomach. "No," he whispered, "but I think I know who might have." That sentence sent a chill down my spine. I asked him, "Who?" And he has. At first, I wanted to deny it. Eric? That didn't make sense. He was always friendly, helpful, even goofy sometimes. He fixed our fence last summer, helped Matt install a ceiling fan. He was the uncle who brought candy for the kids and stayed late to chat. But then the memories started coming back. How he always lingered when I left the room. How I'd catch him glancing at me in ways that didn't feel right. I'd laugh it off, chalk it up to awkwardness. Now I realized it was never harmless. Matt told me Eric had once worked in tech years ago. Security systems, surveillance equipment. He'd even installed a few home cameras for friends. That's when the horror settled in. He knew exactly what he was doing. This wasn't some random prank. We checked the spare bedroom where Eric usually stayed during visits. There, behind a picture frame on the dresser, we found a second camera. Same model, same setup. Hidden, quiet, precise. This wasn't accidental. This was intentional, planned. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip every wall open and throw every device out the window. But instead, I sat on the floor and cried. Not because I was scared, but because I felt violated in a way I couldn't explain. My home didn't feel like mine anymore. Matt sat beside me, speechless. I could tell he was struggling too. Eric was his brother, his best friend growing up. How do you process something like that? I don't think he knew what to say. I didn't either. The silence between us said enough. That night, we packed a bag and took the kids to Matt's parents' house. We didn't say why, just that we needed a change of scenery. I couldn't sleep in that bedroom another night. I couldn't walk down the hallway without imagining someone watching. The next morning, I filed a police report. I handed over the footage, the devices, and everything we found. The officer's expression told me all I needed to know. This wasn't new to them. And it wasn't going to be easy, but I was done staying quiet. The detective assigned to our case was calm but serious. She asked a lot of questions about Eric, his visits, how long he'd had access to our home. I told her everything, down to the smallest detail. I didn't want to leave anything out. She took the footage and the cameras into evidence. She said they'd issue a warrant to search Eric's apartment. She also warned me that these cases can take time, that sometimes families don't want to believe what's right in front of them, and she was right. When Matt told his parents what we'd found, they didn't believe it. His mother cried, said there had to be a mistake. His father got angry at us. He said we were accusing Eric without proof, even after we showed him the videos. Matt stood by me, but I could see how much it hurt him. His family was falling apart right in front of him. I wanted to comfort him, but I was too busy trying to hold myself together. I couldn't afford to shrink just to keep others comfortable. Eric didn't answer his phone. He didn't respond to texts. Then 2 days later, he showed up at our front door like nothing had happened. He had a toolbox in his hand, said he. Came to fix a loose outlet. My blood ran cold just seeing his face. I told him through the door that we knew, that the police had the footage, that he should leave immediately. He froze. He didn't argue. He just stared at the door in silence. For a few seconds before walking away, that silence said everything. Matt watched from the window. I think part of him hoped Eric would deny it, beg for forgiveness, show some kind of remorse. But he didn't. He just left like a ghost. A part of me shattered that day, but another part felt something close to peace. Later that week, the police confirmed that Eric had footage stored on cloud drives. Not just from our home, but from at least 2 other homes he'd visited. My stomach turned. This wasn't just about me. It was something darker, bigger, and I had helped uncover it. After the police confirmed everything, I thought I'd feel safer, but I didn't. I still jumped at every sound. I still hesitated before undressing, before turning off the lights. My own home felt foreign, like I was borrowing a stranger's walls. We changed the locks. We installed a full security system. We even bought a dog, something Matt and I had talked about for years but never acted on. It helped a little, but the fear didn't go away overnight. It clung to me like fog. I started seeing a therapist. I needed help processing the layers of what I'd been through. It wasn't just the invasion, it was the betrayal. The guilt of not seeing it, the shame of doubting myself for so long. Healing, I learned, would be slow. Matt struggled in his own way. He didn't cry, but I could see it in his eyes, the weight of his brother's actions, the cracks forming in his relationship with his parents. He tried to stay strong for me, but I knew he was breaking too. His parents stopped calling. They didn't check in. They didn't ask how we were. I think they were too ashamed, too stubborn to admit the truth. Losing them hurt Matt more than he let on. But even he admitted, we can't defend this, not even for family. Eric was arrested a week later. The charges were serious, multiple counts of unlawful surveillance, invasion of privacy, and possession of illegal footage. His face was on the news. That night, I turned off the TV and sat with my kids in silence. They were too young to understand it all, but they knew something had changed. My oldest asked, "Is Uncle Eric coming back?" I said no. I told him sometimes people hurt others in ways we can't forgive, that our job is to protect each other, always, and that's what I focused on: protection, healing, moving forward. I stopped looking over my shoulder as often. I started reading again, cooking again, smiling again. It wasn't easy. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to speak publicly about something like this. I'm a private person. I keep things close. But after everything, I felt this urge not just to heal, but to protect others who might be silently suffering. Like I did, I joined an online support group for women who had experienced stalking and digital surveillance. At first, I only read, then I commented. Then I shared my story. The responses were overwhelming. So many women had gone through something similar. One woman messaged me privately and said, "Your story helped me check my own home." She found a recording device in her daughter's bedroom, planted by an ex-boyfriend. That message stuck with me. It reminded me that truth, even painful truth, can save lives. I started volunteering with a local organization that teaches digital safety and privacy. I learned more in a few weeks than I had in my entire adult life, and I realized how vulnerable we all are, especially women, especially in our own homes. Matt supported me through it. He attended workshops with me. He apologized again and again, not for what his brother did, but for not believing me sooner. That meant more than anything. Knowing he truly saw me now, my fear, my strength, my silence. We made new rules in our home. No one has a spare key without a reason. No more unannounced visits. No more brushing off intuition. If something feels wrong, we trust it. That's a lesson I wish I'd learned earlier, but I'll never forget again. My therapist once said, "Control is the antidote to fear." At first I didn't understand, but now I do. Rebuilding my life, taking steps to protect myself, to speak out, it gave me back the power I thought I had lost. I was no longer just a victim. I was a woman who faced something horrific and chose not to hide. I didn't bury it or deny it. I used it. I shaped it into something I could stand on. And every time, little by little, our home started to feel like ours again. I rearranged the furniture, painted the bedroom walls a new color. It sounds silly, but even the smallest changes helped me reclaim the space. I needed to see something different when I walked in Matt and I started spending more time together intentionally. We cooked dinner without distractions. We took walks after putting the kids to bed. We really talked about things we'd ignored for years. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. For a long time, I blamed myself for not sensing Eric's intention sooner, but I've stopped carrying that shame. Predators thrive in places where people are trusting. That doesn't make trust a weakness. It makes the betrayal even more wrong. One afternoon, while I was folding laundry, I realized I hadn't thought about the cameras in days. That was a turning point. Not because I forgot, but because it stopped defining me. My life was no longer about what had been done to me, it was about what I was choosing now. The kids began to settle too. Fewer questions, more laughter. I think children can feel when the adults around them are breathing easier. And as we healed, they followed. Our home became a place of calm again, one rule at a time. Matt's relationship with his parents never fully recovered. They never apologized, never reached out again. He grieved that loss quietly, but he told me once, it's easier to lose people who refuse to see the truth than to live beside a lie. I respected that, and I admired him for standing by me. In a way, what happened forced us to look at everything, how we communicate, what we value, how we show up for each other. I don't think we were ever that honest before. Now, we had no choice, It wasn't the future I imagined when I married him. But it was the one we built piece by piece after everything collapsed. And sometimes those are the futures that last, the ones made not from fantasies, but from survival and a new kind of love. I used to think safety meant locked doors in good neighborhoods. I felt love meant never having doubts. But now I know better. Safety is about boundaries. It's about listening to your gut, even when no one else does. And love. Real love is standing beside someone after the storm, not pretending it didn't happen, but rebuilding in the wreckage together. It's the late night talks, the mutual apologies, the quiet reassurance that no one is walking away. Trust has a different meaning for me now. It's not blind. It's earned, nurtured, protected. I trust Matt because he stayed, because he owned his part, because he helped me put the pieces back together without asking me to pretend nothing broke. I also trust myself more. I used to second guess every instinct, every hesitation. Now I don't. If something feels off, I listen. I speak up. I don't wait to be proven right. My peace is too precious to gamble again. People often ask how I moved past it. The truth is, I didn't move past it, I moved through it, step by step, with therapy, with silence, with screaming into pillows, with writing, with breathing. There is no single path. There's only movement. Some days I still catch myself checking corners, listening too closely for sounds. But I don't shame myself for that anymore. That reaction came from survival, and surviving is nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to honor. I've stopped hiding from the story. I've told it to friends, to strangers, to rooms full of women who nod with understanding. Every time I speak it, the shame shrinks and the power grows. My voice became my armor, my truth, my defense. I never asked for this chapter, but I refused to let it be my ending. I reclaimed my home, my body, my peace. I didn't just survive what Eric did. I dismantled the darkness he left behind and replaced it with light I built on my own terms. The first time someone called me brave, I didn't know how to respond. I didn't feel brave. I felt broken, angry, exposed. But as time went on, I realized bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to speak anyway, to act anyway. Women began reaching out, friends of friends, strangers from support groups. Some whispered their stories through tears. Others typed them with trembling hands. They all had one thing in common: someone had made them feel unsafe in their own space. Listened. I comforted. And I told them what I wish someone had told me sooner. You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You are not to blame. Your instincts matter. Your boundaries are sacred. And you are allowed to say no without explanation. Some of them found devices too. Others discovered digital tracking, spyware on their phones, cameras in bathrooms, GPS tags under cars. The stories piled up like bricks, and I knew then this wasn't rare. It was hidden. Silenced, dismissed. I started speaking at women's events and community centers. Nothing fancy, just folding chairs, water bottles, and a microphone. But what we built in those rooms was power. Shared stories became shared courage. And that courage spread like wildfire. Every time I told my story, someone else stepped forward with theirs. It was a ripple effect. One voice became 2, then 5, then 50. And I realized that this too was part of my healing. Not just surviving, but helping others survive too. Matt came with me once. He sat in the back, quiet, listening. Afterward, he hugged me and said, "You're turning something evil into something good. I don't know how you do it, but I'm proud of you." And for the first time, I believed it. I never asked for a platform. I never wanted to be a spokesperson. But if my pain could keep one woman safer, one child protected, I look in the mirror now and see someone I barely recognize in the best way. There's a calm in my eyes that wasn't there before. Not because life is perfect, but because I finally know who I am when everything else is stripped away before. All this I lived by habit, by duty, by comfort. I measured myself by how well I kept things running, how little I asked for, how much I endured. Now I ask, I rest, I say no. I say yes only when I mean it. There's a strength in silence that I never understood until I chose it. Not the kind of silence that hides or avoids, but the kind that holds its ground. That says, I don't need to prove anything to you. I know the truth, and that's enough. I no longer need closure from Eric. I don't care why he did it. I don't want an apology. What he took was real, but what I reclaimed is bigger. He lives in the shadows now. I walk in the light, and I earned every step of it. Matt, and I still have hard days. There's trauma that lingers in small moments, but we talk about it. We face it together, and we no longer pretend things are okay when they're not. Honesty became our safety net, and it holds stronger than silence ever did. I celebrate things I used to overlook. A night of uninterrupted sleep, a day without anxiety, laughter around the dinner table, a Sunday morning where the only noise is birds and coffee brewing. These small things feel enormous now. Sacred, even. I used to believe healing meant returning to who you were before the pain. Now I know healing is becoming someone entirely new. Someone forged in fire. Someone who wears their scars without shame. Someone who knows peace because she fought for it. So yes, I'm different. I am quieter in some ways, bolder in others. I carry lessons in my bones. And I move forward, not despite what happened, but because of what I learned through it. I found myself in the aftermath, and I'm not going back. If you're listening to this and something inside you feels familiar, don't ignore it. That tightness in your chest, that unease when someone enters the room, that little voice saying something isn't right, that's not paranoia. That's intuition, and it's powerful. You don't need proof to trust yourself. You don't need permission to protect your space. You don't owe anyone silence in exchange for peace. If something feels wrong, investigate, ask questions. Take action, even if it's quiet at first. I know what it feels like to question your own sanity, to be told you're imagining things. But let me say this plainly, you are not crazy. You are alert, and alert women survive. Alert women change the outcome of stories that others expect to control. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to set boundaries and expect them to be respected. And if someone crosses those lines, no matter who they are, you are allowed to walk away and never look back. To the woman who's afraid to speak up because it's a family member, I was you. To the woman who wants to believe the best in someone despite the signs, I was you too. But believing in someone should never cost you your safety or your dignity. There is no shame in being targeted. The shame belongs to the one who violated your trust. The moment you stop protecting them with your silence, you take your power back. And that power is yours to keep forever. You don't have to become a public voice. You don't have to share your story if you're not ready, but you do deserve to be safe, to be heard, to be whole. That's not too much to ask. That's the bare minimum. And you are worth it. If my story helps even one woman check behind her wall, install a camera, speak a truth, or feel less alone, then none of this pain was wasted. I lost a sense of security, and that brings us to the end of Rachel's story. A woman who trusted her instincts, faced a terrifying truth, and found the courage to speak out. She didn't just survive what was done to her, she transformed it into something powerful and purposeful. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring these voices to light, and your feedback helps me choose the stories that matter most to you. I receive countless letter stories of betrayal, secrets, family drama, revenge, and redemption. If there's a topic you'd like to hear more about, leave a comment below. I read everything, and your voice truly helps shape what we share next. If you've been through something similar, I want you to know this. You are not alone. You are not weak. And you are never wrong for wanting to feel safe, even in your own home. Your pain is valid. Your healing is possible. Your voice matters. Stories like Rachel's remind us that evil can hide behind familiar faces, but so can strength. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak the truth and let the consequences fall where they may. Silence may protect others, but truth protects you. This channel isn't just about telling dark stories. It's about revealing the light that grows in their aftermath. It's about giving women like Rachel a place to be heard, to be honored, and to be seen for the warriors they are. Thank you for listening, for feeling, and for showing up with empathy. Every view, every comment, every shared story is a part of something bigger, something healing. I'm Brenda, and I'm proud to give voice to stories that deserve to be told. Until next time, protect your peace, guard your space, and remember sometimes, the quietest woman in the room holds the loudest truth. Don't be afraid to speak it. We're listening,